And you have no right to critique how people resist.
What? Yes, I do. And now, I almost said something lighthearted, but it's also something creepy. It's what we're going to talk about next. The TikTok star and creeper, that's the only word I have for him, Jeffrey Marsh, who identifies as non-binary, but we don't believe in that here, and we're not going to be litigating that today, has decided to weigh in on the ongoing chaos in Minnesota amid ICE and Border Patrol operations and mass deportation efforts and the violent clashes between protesters and officers. Because you know what I was just thinking? I was like, we really need the creepy non-binary dude from TikTok's thoughts on this. What's he got to say, right? Like, so he decided to do one of his weird therapy speak second person videos about this. And I had to see it, so you do as well. And then we're going to get to the second video, which is where shit gets crazy and dangerous. But first I have to show you the setup. So let's watch that.
If you are fighting the good fight, I love you very much. If you're in Minneapolis and you're fighting, or you're somewhere else, but you are fighting for human dignity, you're putting your safety at risk. You're putting sometimes yourself at risk.
Okay, side note, there's so much about this that gives me the heebie-jeebies, but maybe we shouldn't be encouraging people to be fighting. Maybe you should specify that you want people to peacefully protest and not impede law enforcement or fight them, because that's actually a very bad idea and only puts people in more danger. But go off, Jeffrey.
Risk. I love you. I admire you. I'm grateful for you. When things get deadly serious, when things get very, very serious, it's important to remember that you're not alone, that there are so many of us who care about equity, human dignity, about lifting humanity. I admire you. I truly, truly love you very much.
Who is the market for this content? Because I just feel so uneasy. Ugh. Why do I have the heebie-jeebies from him? Why are we so close? Why is he telling us how much he loves us? Why is he vaguely encouraging people to fight and not really specifying that he doesn't mean fight law enforcement? I don't know, man. It just seems like an irresponsible way to weigh in on this discourse, while also creeping out as many people as possible. But we actually haven't gotten to the crazy part yet. That's coming up next. Guys, I have a kind of embarrassing confession to make. I only read about 10 books in all of 2025, but I'm determined to dedicate more time and more energy to reading in 2026. Yet after being bombarded all day with email newsletter updates and reading news articles, I find it hard sometimes to sit down and pour through a 500-page nonfiction book, which is why discovering today's sponsor, Shortform, was such a godsend. Shortform produces super high-quality guides to nonfiction books. Their guides are like super-powered book summaries, comprehensive coverage of all the book's key ideas, clearly and simply explained, plus smart commentary and analysis. It's like your smartest friend teaching you about a book, taking minutes instead of hours. For example, I wanted a refresher on one of my favorite political books that I haven't read in a few years, Basic Economics by the economist Thomas Sowell. But the actual book runs over 700 pages, and I don't quite have time to pour over that all again. But using Shortform, I was able to read through all the main ideas and insights from this classic in like 20 minutes. So join me in fighting back against our destroyed attention spans and terrible doom-scrolling habits. Check out Shortform now to focus your mental energy on learning and reading in the new year. Go to my link now, shortform.com/Polumbo, to try it out for free and get $50 off an annual subscription. Yeah, you thought that first video was bad, huh? You thought that first video was a little uncanny, a little creepy, a little bit bearing into your soul with those eyes and that bizarre shade of makeup. Well, the second video is scary because Jeffrey kind of openly embraces the logic of the extremist, of the terrorist, in this next clip, because somebody wrote a comment to him, and said, like, you should tell people to stay home and not get into altercations with law enforcement or something like that. And he said, no. resistance is justified by all means. What? We can't judge how people resist. Listen to this deranged video.
The problem here is that this is abuser's language. This is an abuser's perspective.
Oh my gosh. So the comment says, please tell your people to stay home and let ICE agents do their job. It's the safest thing for everyone involved. And he's saying that's abuser's language. Or it's just the perspective of somebody who doesn't want to see any more of these dangerous interactions that go wrong and then people get killed. Crazy. That does not make this person an abuser. And that is not abuser's logic. That is a deranged thing to say, Jeffrey.
Just do everything I say. Actually be psychic, anticipate, comply in advance. Do everything I say, how I'm feeling that day, and comply exactly, and you won't get hit. You won't get abuse.
Oh my God, he's literally comparing, telling people not to mess with law enforcement and create dangerous situations like some people are doing in Minnesota. And he's saying that like telling the woman, well, if you just obeyed your husband, you wouldn't get hit. Like, how are we making this comparison? This is so deranged and so insensitive and so creepy. How many shades of eyeshadow does this man have?
From, and it's blaming the victim, from what was she wearing to he was asking for it.
Okay, you could say it's blaming the victim, but it's also just like smart advice that I don't think these shootings are justified. I don't think ICE agents and Border Patrol agents are behaving responsibly. And that's all the more reason to encourage people to stay home. Honestly, you do have a right to protest. Absolutely. I'll always support your right to peacefully protest. Of course, Jeffrey never says that part. And I will even support your right to record law enforcement. But it's just obviously true that going out there and involving yourself in these situations does put you in some degree of danger of something going wrong or escalating. And yeah, telling people to just not do it is not the logic of the abuser. It's kind of common sense advice. If I cared about someone deeply who lived in Minnesota right now, I would really encourage them to stay home and not go out and follow ICE around, just as out of self-preservation and just not taking any risks. And that does not make me the logic of an abuser. Jeez Louise, Jeffrey.
Asking for it. This is all about the fact that people are waking up. People are no longer buying what you're selling. And you have no right to critique how people resist.
What? You have no right to critique how people resist. Yes, I do, actually. What do you mean? Of course we can critique how people choose to resist in a political environment or against things they disagree with that are happening from the government. Because some forms of resistance, like peaceful protest, like boycotts, like campaigns, like anything, media criticism, like petitioning, like recording law enforcement, those are peaceful and civil forms of resistance. And then some forms of resistance are dangerous and violent and illegal and put everyone in danger. So of course we can critique. And this is the part of these series of videos that for me got a little sinister, because this idea that you have oppressors and marginalized people, and you can't critique how the marginalized people choose to resist. That is the same like demented logic that led people to, whatever you think of the broader conflict, defend Hamas killing innocent people on October 7th. Well, the Palestinians are oppressed by Israel, so we can't critique how they resist. We actually can. We can actually say that terroristic attacks are wrong, even if those people have legitimate grievances or have been oppressed in the past. Doesn't matter. It's still wrong to hurt innocent people. And the idea that we can't critique resistance is actually deranged and sinister, right? So would you say that if somebody goes and shoots ICE officers? Well, we can't critique resistance. Yes, we can actually. And it is this kind of woke thinking where you're so open-minded that your brain falls out that I think has allowed for the rise of like a very dangerous and at times supportive of violence and dangerous activity mentality among the progressive left, at least some of them in this country. And I can't say that I'm particularly surprised to see and hear that coming from Jeffrey Marsh of all people, but the fact that he still has a following on that app and people still listen to him, I just don't understand it. But I really hope people don't take his advice, because it's horrible advice. It's dangerous advice. Okay, well, I'm just hopping back on because my camera shut off unexpectedly, and I kept talking for several minutes without realizing it. That's my take on this creepy, just very creepy influencer's message about this whole controversy, and just I wish cooler heads would prevail across the spectrum on all of this. But that's all I have to say about really Miss Jeffrey here. Do make sure to subscribe, do hit the like button, and let me know what you think of his comments. Were you as unnerved by the videos of him as I was? Let me know in the comments, and that'll be it for today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll talk again real soon.